give me that it's recording. Okay. That there now. All right, so I'll close that. Recording. I'm going to go through this here shortly, and then first project, some of our assignments. Before I get started, I'm reading a book right now. I don't know, 7 Habits of Highly Effective by Covey. I'm like the paradigm shift, always paradigm shifts as a way to reset what we're doing, and every time the semester, it's always a good time to do good things forward. One of the things that we're trying to do in this program is called Outcomes Mastery Level. And if you're not familiar with this, this is something that we try to grade and assign work and then learn as we learn through the process. And some learners learn different ways and become knowledgeable. So what happens is that when we are assigning points, basically, we're going to say, okay, you did not master that concept. And if you didn't master it, then we're going to probably ask is that you redo the assignment. We feel like the assignments are put together to try to educate you on the things that you need. So if you get that mark, I'll have input back to the documents as I grade them and give you feedback and say, hey, this you really missed it here. Go do this, go do that, and help you out. Because it's really hard when you're doing online and you're disconnected and you might not know, well, okay, what do we really want here? And I don't quite understand it. So this is an opportunity to do that. We really don't want to give does not master because we've spent so much time. I don't want you to have to spend extra time. So from that standpoint. Then when you're nearing mastery, you're basically getting a score that's a little bit below what we need. I will give a lot of input for that. And you can decide whether or not you want to try to redo that lab or that assignment or that paper. It will be up to you, but you might probably know already why you did not master it based on a time crunch or a concept issue. I'll leave that in your hands, but I will give good feedback from there. Now, if you master it, I'm not going to give a lot of feedback. You'll see your score. I can point to the things I didn't see that I liked in there, and you probably could point to those as well. So you'll know those, and that way I can keep up with my grading. Now, in exceeds mastery, when I score exceeds mastery, then this is where we're trying to show that you go above and beyond the mastery. You're actually helping other students. You're getting other content. You're providing something beyond what we expected. In other words, extra credit. And you get the highest score, 10, but I could give 12 points or even 20 points above the 10 that's stated in the grading metrics. I have the capability of assigning more than that's even there when I see students that go beyond exceeds masteries. And I see students that do this throughout the semester, and it really makes a difference. One way to do that is to take ownership of what you do and give feedback. Go in and please try to add to the discussions. If the lab's not making sense, you're not seeing it, instead of being productive and going in and this lab's not working, I can't get this to load. Sometimes it's the lab itself. It might be our software. It might be our connection to our online bowl and we can't get the software to work. Or it could be my fault also. So negativeness does not grow our team, and we want to use team growth. I teach a lot in team science and the concept of team science, and it's the concept, a team, you might have a column, you go do this, let's say you go acquire the land, you do seismic, and then you might go and now drill it or get permits and drill it and construct it. Every one of those are through the workflow, and teams kind of think of it as a column portion, but we want to dissolve those columns and have everybody working to help each other, and that's the big concept there. But let's jump back to the course, if we will, talk about that from that standpoint. We basically have it designed where you have many projects that you place. You'll have your project 1 or module 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Then you'll have project 2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and then project 3, 3.1, and 3.2. So we don't have a project at the end. We have a project at the end of each one. And projects are actually our assignments as we go along should build up into our projects. In petroleum and GIS, of course, my background, academic, but always very strong on the business side. I worked offshore doing hydrographic surveying and mapping globally. Did a lot of engineering and designing pipelines and products, civil side, and then worked for equipment manufacturer like a Geosystems. Last position I had there was the market director of machine automation. And it's all about profit lines and margins and sales and competitors and marketing, that aspect, as well as the science and the technology that we are inventing from that standpoint. And then when I went to help BP to restructure their organization to run things with a digital transformation, we looked at trying to build solutions that solve problems through work. In this scenario, we're kind of going to go backwards. We're going to go from the consumer back down to the subsurface and the product, if you will. A little bit of jumping through there, but we start with, why are we doing this? What is the purpose? And we go from there and issues that we need to be concerned about to who are our customers, how much natural gas is being consumed and used in the marketplace, and how do we distribute and provide them with those oil and gas products, down to the land acquisition, land portion of things, to understanding, ownership of those minerals through that process. And again, regulatory, site development, well design, a little bit out of order there, but I needed to flow it in that. But you can see kind of going backwards back down to the subsurface. And then, again, I jumped to reclamation, which is kind of the end, but it's also something you start in the beginning. So let me explain here, and I'll start across with the project. This project is really for you to build the standards and methods of managing an enterprise GIS. When I get to BP and other organizations that I've worked with, I find that they have out-of-date standards. They're not all on the same lines. I've worked with boards of professional surveying, engineering, writing standards, mineral standards, standards of care and operations. I've testified in lawsuits on that. And I find that just simple things are not taken care of to build simple understandings of what are the standards that we're going to use. So you're going to basically write your standards for your company. You're going to go in and define the purpose, the safety statement, the standards regulatory. You're going to have an online purpose statement of why we're having these. And what is a governance statement, all right? And you're all going to still having a value proposition. And that we see in our first assignment with our energy assessment. We're going to look at the value proposition. We're going to say, what is the geodesy that we're going to use? What is the risk we're really trying to reduce? Who are the people that are involved? What is the data? What is the data that we're providing? What is the software? We're going to have these, and we're going to build those portions of things. And then I have one assignment that we do. And basically in this assignment, we go through and we look at some data sets. And what you'll see is multiple data sets represents where the county boundary is. So now we have data uncertainty. I should address data uncertainty in my document, my governance, but I should understand data uncertainty. Which county boundary do I observe? Well, if I'm dealing with the state and the state thinks the county boundary is here, I'm going to use their data set. And if I'm dealing with the county and I have to supply a permit to the county, I'm going to use their data set. But if I'm working, say, internally with our company, we might have a different one because a surveyor has gone out there, decided the boundary because it was actually a lease boundary that we acquired, and it might be more precise. That could be a third boundary that we have to use. So I need to understand that data uncertainty and address it. Data uncertainty is the biggest plague that we kind of see in trying to set up standards. Next, we're going to look at some distribution systems across the nation. Esri has a good data set here. We're going to look at trying to do those and trying to look at some of the Esri data sets. We're just going to look at a GIS that they have put together to manage a city that buys natural gas. Natural gas is bought and sold as a commodity on the traded market. You know, what it does is that these cities or counties who purchase this natural gas go to these brokers, and they're looking for price. They're not really looking for how well we get that natural gas, how much we reduce our risk. Those aren't their concerns. They're looking at their customers at every house who buy natural gas. They want that price down. It becomes our responsibility to take and lower our overhead so that we have a larger profit margin for us. That's our competition. That is digital transformation, the new currency of the future. Reduce workloads, reduce overhead, because this top number of what we're selling natural gas is based on a commodity traded on the market. So we'll look at that. And then we'll look at some other stuff on trying to look at distributions of well production in different areas and trying to understand it. Looking at and managing well production becomes a big portion of what I ended up doing at the end of BP. And I know my GIS guys who were there making permit pipelines and doing all the design, they started that and on their business element, using all the GIS, FME, and Power BI tools to analyze the business engine, and we're going to do that. Lastly, we're going to design a pipeline, and one of the things that we do in a pipeline, and that I'm going to show you here, is I designed one over the holidays, actually for a company offshore, bringing one in, and I built an FME tool where, as I designed it in AutoCAD, it automatically took that pipeline and pushed it to ArcGIS, so lots of contractors who are making critical decisions could see it in real time as I was drawing it in AutoCAD. I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to build an FME project very simply from that standpoint that you can read somebody's AutoCAD drawing while they're drawing it. Changes get made, things happen, logistics are a problem because of these columns that we have in the workflow. When it gets to somebody, environmental issues happen, they push it, everybody has to redo all their work. And if it's in a flow that we're sending things around in emails, if we're trying to communicate in an archaic way, this is unproductive. This is not digital transformation. This is not where we want to head. Next that we want to do is something called a peer review paper. Now this peer review paper is for us to look at where people are using GIS in the petroleum industry. So we're going to go look for a peer review paper and write a one-page document that reviews this. Now, this is an exercise that my PhD major that was on my committee, Lynn Ursery, he was at the University of Georgia. He went back to the USGS. He came up with this idea, and it's really teaching the scientific method. In paragraph 1, you're going to introduce the problem, and you're basically just going to state, here is the problem. Here's what they tried to use GIS to solve the problem. In paragraph 2, you're going to discuss the solution they came up with. What software, what hardware, what people, what was the results of what they did in the second paragraph. In the third paragraph, we're going to say something like, who cares? Was that a good use of GIS? Could I have just done that in Excel? You know, what was the purpose of that? This is the typical scientific method that dissertations, thesis, your final capstone project will be written in. You must write it in this common method that we write as academias. So I get you going with that process to do that. I have an example of a paper here. Before I do that, follow my don't do's. It's inevitably that I have people that use first person. We did this, I did that, they did those. Remove first person. Don't write in first person. GIS, capitalize the first time. You know, one of the tools that you can use is to do spell check and to do audio. And I'll show you the word here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But before I go, the example of application paper I have that I wrote from that standpoint, where it goes a good example of what you want to do. Inside Word, and here I have, you can see I have word launch right here. I have something up here called speak text. To get that, I went in here to add commands. I hit more commands, and when you do the more commands, you can go down here and you'll see one called speak. And when you get to the one that's called speak, you can add that, and it will be added to the top of your Word document there. So now if I highlight the text that's here, I can push the speak button. I'm not sure if you can hear this.
And agriculture areas in Texas. Fire has caused an environmental and economic.
But it can read back to me. If it doesn't sound right when you're hearing it, it probably won't read back right when I'm reading it. So we'll do a few of those papers throughout the semester to try to help our learning process and also learn about ways that we are writing well for our publications, okay? I encourage you to write and publish, put yourself out there. I think it's a great opportunity, and you'll have a super time to be able to do that, all right? Now, one thing that I will say about this is that if you want to, you could even review our lectures that we have here, or you could pick some topics other than what I have assigned and be creative. I'm very excited to hear any of your ideas that you have from that standpoint. I hope that everything works well. This is the third time that I've taught this. I think we've gotten better with portions of it. I have changed some things throughout the semester, and I hope that this will go well for you this semester. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go over here to participants and see if anyone has any questions for me. And please don't let me off the hook real easily. If you're muted, you might have to unmute yourself here. I'll go through and unmute everyone so that make sure that we can hear them. There we go. I think everybody should be unmuted. Does anyone have any comments or input they can have?
I actually have a question with regards, I guess, to the textbook.
So on the textbook side of things, I'm going to be adding more. My goal is to write the textbook this semester. So I'm trying to write chapter by chapter. I've written the first 3 chapters, and I'm going to be writing more and more of the chapters myself, and we plan to publish this as a book with Esr.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw the link that was in the syllabus, and I started looking on the Esr site for it, and I didn't see it, so that was kind of my question.
That's why you're not seeing it.
Other than that, I can't think of anything else.
Is anybody on a governance board at their company?
No, sir. Not me.
Does anyone know if there's a governance board at your company?
There might be a government board in mind.
I won't mention the student who had it last semester, and he wrote me a great email right after we finished Project 1, and he was a bit frustrated with value propositions, and he'd never heard that concept. Now, value propositions, I went to Harvard executive MBA program, and when you go to that MBA executive program, you never graduate. They just continue to take your money. Is how that works. But you learn a lot of great things, and in their value propositions were things that they said that you got to work on and try to build value propositions from that standpoint. And it struggled with that whole assignment. Right after that, his boss come to him and said, we are going to take over submitting permits for drilling for the company. I need you to start thinking about how we're going to do that. And he was like, oh my gosh, I've got a document to get us started. Let's sit down and talk about some value proposition. What do we want to achieve? Do we want permits with no problems? Do we want to reduce our impact to the earth? Do we want to make higher margins? Do we want to do less with more? All those things. Do we all agree with that? If you want me to do this, I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need this, and this. And he had the document to justify him taking over and establishing a team versus stuff just getting dumped in his lap like it all happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
As we move through things, if you think of a good area, and I had lots of good examples of how you can use GIS in petroleum. A lot of times it's a little difficult because I can do a lot of things in Petrel or Decision Space Geographics or some of these other software sets that probably do it better than Esri. I'm not going to try to take Esri and reproduce what Seismic can do or what all these other can do. Down at the bottom, you'll see that we're going to get to using OpenDTAC, which is an open source subsurface software where we build some cubes and we digitize some horizons and do some well design. I picked OpenDTAC because it's open source. These other softwares, they're difficult to run on our VOL and get it working from that standpoint. You can install this yourself on your own computer and get it to work, and it actually works quite well for us to grasp some of those cool, great ideas. But if you have some good examples of where you've used GIS to solve a solution, or like some of the papers that I'm going to post some ideas. I've gotten former students' papers that were just amazing on their one page, and I asked them, hey, can I share this with the other teams? Because this is a great use, and you did a great summary. So if you see some of those, hey, let's be a team here, and let's put that together. Any questions?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think I have any. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I don't think I have any. I'm sure I will as the course continues, but I don't think I have any right now.
And from that standpoint, you have my cell phone. If you need to talk to me, always text first, because I don't know what I'll be doing. And I'll say, okay, I can call you back this time or that time. But I'm available 24 hours. I don't usually answer calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I'm up late. Call me anytime on my cell phone. Text me. Let's communicate. Let's have that kind of relationship. That's what I've had with other students. It works out well. I'd like to do that versus us just having set times, because a lot of times people get here and, I think it works better this way. Communicate with each other. That's always a great thing from that standpoint. I think that's always good to do as well, and I encourage you to take advantage of that as well in the communication part. And as we go along here, anything you see that I can improve on, I've got skin of leather. It'll bounce off of me, hit me hard, tell me, Dr. Lyle, this is crap. I don't know what you're doing here. By the way, I'm dyslexic. So 90% of everything you read that I write doesn't make sense. Well, I'm sorry. I was afflicted with dyslexia. I can read a lot, and I am AD and HD. I can do a lot of work. So look past that. Just point those out to me. I'll get on them and fix them.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great semester. But I do want to hear one-on-one from everyone. I've talked to Corey already. I've talked to some of you already. But please set up a time where we can still have one-on-one, talk about what we're doing. Key terms I said tonight, team science, look that up. Digital transformation, understand that. 7 habits of highly effective people, paradigm shifts. You might look into that. That'll help your careers. Value propositions, governance, standards. These key things are where we're going in the future with big corporations globally, and where we're doing research on the academic world, and I think you guys will be able to provide your companies in your future as well. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much. I'll post this video online. If you have any questions, give me a call. Y'all have a great evening.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.